our Mandela Effect Stories. I'm your host, HR, and tonight we have Brian, who's going to tell his Mandela Effect story. So grab your drinks and let's get started. Brian?
Yes, hi Harold. I want to thank you again for having me and inviting me on your show. I would like to lead in with a little prayer if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, Lord, thank you for the people you have divinely placed in my life who speak holy truth, love, and words of wisdom. Give me a heart of discernment to know you and know when you are using someone to speak instruction into my heart and my circumstances, and give me the strength and courage to follow through with that advice, even when it's hard. Fill me with peace in knowing that even if I take a wrong turn, your purpose will prevail. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So the key word there is discernment. Um, and the Mandela effect is really a big part of that discernment, trying to figure out what these things mean. Are they symbolic? These changes that are going on here. Uh,
Right.
Now, Harold, you've been following me a pretty good long while, right?
Of course.
You know that, like, oh, by the way, I want to do a shout out to Teresa Lynch. She's my residue hunter.
Okay.
She's got her own Facebook reality residue hunter group. She wanted me to do a shout out for the group. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Also, hey Lisa. um, Basically, the Mandela effect. Um, my story is I've always been interested in higher learning. I started learning like calculus like in the seventh and eighth grade.
Right.
Um, I've always had sort of a different path than most people. Um, I've been very strong in the Lord. I've been a Christian my whole life,
Yeah.
and I was born on Long Island, New York, and but raised in the South. I spent the majority of the time in the South, and so we're a very big Christian, uh, God fearing family.
Right.
And I've never had any like instances of spiritual attacks until recently. Uh, when covering these effects, um, um, and I've done like 1,400 and something videos. It's crazy,
Right.
hard to keep track of them all. But I did one namely that scared the bejesus out of me and Rena. We were just talking about spirits, and I was showing her my book. I have a book that changed, the King Tut book.
Right.
It's my world history book, and on the front picture of King Tut, I noticed it went from one snake to two snakes, and then a snake and a vulture. So I've noticed that change twice. A lot of these effects we're seeing, they'll change more than once.
Right.
Have you noticed that too, Harold?
Yes. Uh, I know. Could you put headphones on? Because I hear a feedback.
Is there feedback?
Yeah, there's a feedback.
I'm on my computer.
Okay. Yeah, just a slight feedback.
Slight.
I hear myself talking to myself. uh, yeah. As far as you know, things changing, I've seen things change repeatedly. I've seen all kinds of flip flops where they go one way and then they go back. I've seen them just change a whole entire, you know, store sign. Or in my case, the McDonald's always seems to change the menu every time we have a shift. Uh, it just changes the dollar menu, taking it away and putting it back. Uh, but yeah, I've seen quite a few changes, and I've been in the community for about 2 years now. So
I listened to your Meigs video that you did, and you guys talked about it. You were affected since April of 2016. So you're actually more of a veteran than I am in the Mandela. I just fell into it September of 2016. I was in August. I was kind of bored at my job watching YouTube videos a little bit here and there, and I caught on to this flat Earth and Nibiru thing, and that's what led me to the Mandela effect. And I heard people talking about, there was an article, Chick-fil-A versus Chick-fil-A, you know, the CK versus the Chick-fil-A CHIC. I'd like to talk about that experience too, because I worked at Chick-fil-A CHIC FILA for 3.5 years. I even earned a scholarship from them. I checked when I went back and checked at my uh, old stuff. I saved all my pay stubs, believe it or not, from when I worked there.
Yeah.
Every last one of them changed. There was no residue whatsoever. I worked there from '96 to 2001, and not a single piece of residue there. My
I
name tag, my name tag changed to
I
see.
saw this though,
Huh?
Brian. I actually saw this change. I was there when it was just C, and I went through the drive-through with my daughter, and we got, whatever we got, and the following day, I was coming up the parkway with my daughter, and I look over at a truck, and it's a Chick-fil-A truck, but it's not the C anymore; it's a K on the end, and I'm like, how can that be? So we drove down there, and sure enough, the sign had changed, as if it had always been there. it just it just changed. And that was one of my major holy crap moments. The other one was, I remember seeing a sign appear in front of Walmart. One day I go by and there's no sign. The next day I come back, there's a sign rusted and looked like it's always been there. It looked like there was no new dirt, there was no new anything. It looked like it had always been right there. So that sign just appeared out of nowhere. And I kind of went, what? How can this be? These things are just shifting, and I've noticed other things change from day to day. History changes constantly. Not major things, but minor things.
Yes, yes. I know we've talked about the Black Tom explosion several times,
Right.
where the Statue of Liberty, the shrapnel hit the torch
Right.
and whatnot. So now people can't go up and see the torch. But my mom has vivid pictures, memories, whatever you call it, where she went up there with her boyfriend at the time, and she was able to look out over the torch. And now you're telling me, so it's been closed since like 1929 or whatever when it happened,
It
or
was before that, 1918, I think.
1918, yeah, something like that. So it's been closed since then.
And I know your mom's not older than that, so
No, 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 no,
no, no, no.
no.
So
That would make me sound like I'm older.
yeah, right. But yeah, also the another Mandela effect is that Ellis Island, the statue supposedly used to be on, and now it's on Liberty Island.
Yeah,
And
that's strange in itself.
other people remember it on Ellis Island. You know, what do you think of that?
There's residue. Like people have sent me residue. It was on a TV show. I can't remember the name of the show, but they do say Ellis Island, Statue of Liberty, and Ellis Island in the same sentence. So again, it's definitely strange. I can name a few huge Mandela effects that I've come in contact with. I love doing the cold calls. You know I do, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And like one of the probably more famous ones I've done was the eyes.
yeah.
Eyes have been affected. I don't know if your audience wants to hear it.
Sure, go ahead, tell them.
This is 163,000 views. This one got this is amazing. But listen to this. This is what they had to say. Hold on, I'll play it. I called my doctor. Yeah, hey Angel, hey, is there like an eye technician I could speak with real quick, or maybe the doctor or somebody?
What kind of question do you have?
Okay, well here's the question. I believe my eyes are Mandela affected. Okay.
Oh no.
Pupil. Okay, I remember the black pupil.
Oh no.
I remember my eyes being brown. I don't remember there being a black ridge around the brown eyes.
Oh no.
Have you ever seen people with like darker outer ridges on their eyes, like a ring?
No, I'm fairly new here.
It's kind of creepy, actually.
Oh jeez.
Oh man, I
Oh
I think Lisa said when she heard that the first time she busted out laughing.
yeah. It
That
must have
I was very serious at the time. I was freaking out, but now I'm looking back. This is a year ago. I published this on June 20th of last year, and I'm laughing my butt off right now.
yeah, because that was, pretty gutsy, coming out there and just saying it, you know. I don't know if I could have been as gutsy in that moment without people looking at you like, what's wrong with you?
Well, yeah, true. Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess when it comes to these things, I felt like I had to get to the bottom of this effect, and I ran into Teresa Lynch. We met, and then she introduced me to you. She introduced uh, me to Ty, Tyler
Yeah.
and Troy. All, all these people that I would have never known because of the effect. I
Yeah.
would have never known. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's
Well, I want to ask you a question.
yeah, sure.
Going back to the beginning, after you found the Mandela effect in the videos and things, how did that affect your life? I mean, like, what happened after that?
I suddenly felt alone. Like it was so weird. Like I'd ask other people, and they could care less.
Right.
And like, how can you not see this? I kept saying like, come on, it was sweet dreams are made of these, and now it's sweet dreams are made of this. I discovered that Mandela a while back.
Right.
Um, I just, I don't know. It's like I had this thing in my head, like, is my life a lie?
Yeah. Is reality reality?
Yeah,
Or am I crazy?
yeah. But there's another interesting story about J.C. Penney,
Yeah.
because um, during in 2015, I was involved in a major car accident, a 4-car wreck on the highway, and my entire 2 days after the car accident, my eyesight went out
Wow.
in my right eye, and it was blank, white, nothing. It came back, but then the pressure shot up again, so I had to eventually get surgery on that.
Right.
But what's interesting is in 2016, when I noticed the changes, I mean, that's when full blown I was affected.
Yeah.
J.C. Penney, me and a um, previous love, I'll say,
Yeah.
not-
Yeah. Yeah.
I got divorced in 2015. Never seen so many divorces in my life
Yeah.
that particular year. But
Yeah.
J.C. Penney, we used to go there all the time, and I remember JCPENNY.
Me too.
So it's very interesting. Um, it was one of those things you go on Shopkick. They make this little app for your phones where you walk in, you get the points.
Yeah.
Well, I discovered one day it was JCPENNEY.
Hmm.
But I know for a fact up until 2000, at least up until 2015, it was JCPENNY for me. And I noticed there was a trend with the Mandela. A lot of people discovered it around July, August, somewhere in that time frame, is
Yeah.
when the Mandela effect really hit, like started hitting full scale. Um, so I know it's like some people are now just discovering the Mandela. You're probably you all out there are like just some of you are just now falling into it. But it's true. I mean, these effects, they kind of hit you rock like rock solid with these things. It's strange though too, because I think we've been hit at different times.
True.
I remember in 2008 hearing the commercial, "Choosy moms choose Jif." Do you remember that?
Yes.
But I still remember it as Jiffy before that, and I thought it was just a name change of the business. Like
Right.
maybe
Me too.
somebody else inherited it.
Yeah.
Another big change for me was Dollar General. How many of you out there know Dollar General?
Me.
Did you see the R's when they changed?
Yep.
Like first, it was only one R that got curled around October 2016, and then the other R started curling shortly after that in November. I actually documented these. That was about the time I started tracing logos.
Did you ask? Did you go there and ask them if they changed their sign or their logo?
I did, but I didn't record that because I've learned that if you're going to record, don't ask, just do it, and then
Well,
hope they don't get you for it.
you know what you need is you need one of those ones you put on your glasses that
Yeah.
record that you can record. You know,
Yes.
that way you don't have to hold anything. You can just do it.
That is true.
But what I want to ask is, I know there's logo changes all over the place. I know, we've been experiencing all kinds of things, but I want to get back to this experience with you. Like you realized that you were alone. You felt alone. Um, what did you do after that? I mean, obviously you.
I actually started getting proactive, Harold. As you know, I actually have this available for everyone on the internet. I started doing hand copying the Bible to try to preserve it because I know EYA was talking about all these Bible changes. I was watching her channel at the time. I watched Meigs' channel.
Right.
Also, some of the other ones like Moneybag 73 was a big one I watched back then, and Jacob Israel.
Right.
So I decided I was going to get proactive and use my time wisely. Since work was kind of slow, with tickets at times,
Right.
I would often hand copy the Bible.
Wow.
I got 24 books of the New Testament uploaded and hand copied.
Now, out of the 24 books that you hand copied, have you went back to see if any of it has changed?
No, I have not. But actually, I did notice one change with the name Zechariah.
Uh-huh.
It was Zechariah. Now it's Zacharias or something like that. Did A change
Does it look like your handwriting?
to an A? My handwriting before it didn't. I don't think it changed. It wasn't the handwriting that changed. It was the actual wording that changed because I remember the previous day hand copying it and see I got halfway through and realized I had not finished it, so I continued on the next day,
Yeah.
and that's when I noticed the change from Zechariah to Zachariah,
Yeah.
and that freaked me out.
I bet. And I think you should go back at some time and check those books against, the Bible and see what has changed and see if it's in your handwriting. Because it's important to know if it's in your handwriting, then it's possible it shifted from another reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Another you might have written it. And, it could be your handwriting, but something else written. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it could have literally been you doing it, but not you, which is weird.
yeah. Well, I've noticed Matthew 11:15 for me changed. That one, he who has the eyes to see, let him see. He who has the ears to hear, let him hear.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
And now it's he who has the ears to hear, let him hear. They completely took the eyes out.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, did you know that?
No, so you're not supposed to see it.
No, I guess not.
Apparently, don't look.
But
Just
every day it seems Mount Rushmore is sort of changing.
I've noticed that. It seems like they're just shifting it all over the place. Um, what I want to know is, you said you were alone. You said you got proactive. You were following money bags. You were following others. Um, how long was it between that time when you started writing the Bible till you actually started your YouTube channel?
Let's see. I'm looking at timelines here. So 2016, the end of 2016, I fell into the Mandela effect. Uh, I was hand copying the Bible the end of the year through the beginning of the year, 2017. So, and I started doing videos around February, I believe, 2017. It was either February or March.
Okay.
I remember, and I'll never forget our first discussion. I remember being invited to a hangout for the first time, live with Scare Performance and Life Matrix.
Right.
To this day, I thank them for inviting me. I was so nervous, but
Right.
and I don't even think I showed up on time either because I was like praying my guts out here. I was praying, that I would not make a fool of myself or something like that on live television and
Right.
YouTube, and I don't know, like, because they wanted to talk to me about logo changes,
Okay.
and I'll never forget it. And that was the very first time. And then the time after that, I tried to do my own thing, getting up the courage to do it.
Right.
I got Teresa with me, and that was about the time I met her. Teresa introduced me to Tyler and Tom Hefner.
Right.
And we all got together and had our little phone. We did a phone conference, and I remember I didn't know how to work Hangouts at the time, so I recorded my screen while we were talking on conference call, and I remember it being so tinny. But we managed to get the full video in like 4 different parts because I lost a lot of it due to the AI. The AI cut it off, I believe.
We love them. Love that AI.
Oh, it's so aggravating.
I can tell you.
I was on national radio with and I'll tell you about that too. I had gotten invited by my friend Paul. He worked with ABC,
Right.
and he got me on radio with him. I found him through I was trying to contact ABC,
Yeah.
or one of the networks that would listen to me at the time about these changes.
Yeah.
So I sent him an email and not expecting to hear back, but he did. He messaged me back and said he wanted me to come on. So I was so excited,
Right.
All those 4 videos are online where people can see them, and we had good talks about the effects.
Yeah. Did you end up going on another radio show? I thought you were on overnight with the name of that guy, the sci-fi guy at night. He does the overnight show. Oh, what is his name?
You talking about George Norrie?
Yeah. Did you go on with George Norrie?
No, I have not. That was that he's done some Mandela effect. He's had Mandela effect people come on and talk, for sure. No, that wasn't me.
Okay.
I was trying to set up something where we could talk about, different effects.
Right.
But most people just talk about the main effects.
Right.
Like some of the other stuff doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few main Mandela effects.
Continental changes, body changes.
Yeah, body changes. Yeah, how many of you out there don't eat as much? Me, I don't eat as much as I used to.
3 stomachs and 3 chambers to your stomach. Your liver.
We're becoming like camels now. We don't need to eat and drink as much, I guess.
Your liver's like twice the size or 3 times the size. Your collarbone moved all over the place. Feet changed, back changed. your muscles split up and changed. I mean, how many different things could happen, you know? And when you feel all these like mystery pains, that's what it is. These things are actually changing in your body, and hopefully it's going to make us stronger. I hope, because I would love that. You know? How about you?
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. Stronger bones. I remember there was a while like I didn't even work out or I mean I walk, I walk from time to time, but I don't really work out too heavily, and
Right.
I don't feel as out of breath anymore. But there was a time between October. I think we really shifted back in October, really hard. October, November last 2016,
I remember that one.
and like I felt like my heart was in my chest. Something was going on. My lungs felt different.
Yeah.
I had trouble breathing.
Our lungs now make blood, so it is possible that that was when that happened.
Yeah,
your
the
your
lungs produce blood now. That's an effect.
And you know, the other thing that really is amazing is these continental changes. You know, they're moving all over the place. You know, and now Australia's at the equator. You know, how'd that happen? It just suddenly was at the equator. And by the way, the kangaroos have all moved to New Zealand,
That is true. I've heard that.
and they eat meat now.
Maybe they're moving around. The continents are moving around like a Rubik's cube.
I'm telling you. And the other thing that I noticed recently about the planetary changes, the solar system changes, uh, we shifted supposedly to Orion's spur. And I noticed that like 2 or 3 days ago, when I looked it up, that the Sagittarius arm where we were is now almost right next to us. And it used to be at the edge of the galaxy. That's where we were. But now the Sagittarius arm is right next to us for some reason. And not only that, but we now have a dwarf star, whereas we never had a dwarf star. The sun was never a dwarf star,
No,
and now,
wait. Are you telling me the sun is a dwarf star now?
yes, yes,
No,
it is.
no.
Look it up. Got to look it up because it is. It's classified as a dwarf star, and that's why I think they sent out the solar simulator to amp up the heat and radiation coming from the sun, because otherwise we might have went into an ice age.
No, it was never a yellow dwarf.
It is now. It is now.
And it says it's white, but it
Yes,
appears
white.
yellow. No, it was never white.
No, it wasn't, but it is now. Furthermore, we noticed other changes. The other changes we noticed was um, the moon was acting really strange. It was doing all kinds of weird things, like the man on the moon would reverse and go upside down, and sometimes it would turn, half a rotation, and then go back. And then the other night, one of my friends noticed that the clouds were going behind the moon, and they could see it through the moon. So uh, the suggestion is that the moon is a hologram.
I was thinking more like a projection, like a projected image.
Well, like a hologram, because maybe the moon's not
Like,
there.
like you know how the Batman signal,
Right.
goes up, so it could be something like that, except you don't see the rays of light going toward it.
Well, that's it. But the implication is that the moon's not there. That whatever happened to us may have taken us away from the solar system may have moved and left the moon there. You know what I mean? Or something happened to the moon, or there's something on the moon they don't want us to see. But whatever it is, that's what's
Well,
going on.
that's another effect, right? The dark side of the moon.
Oh yes. Oh
Uh,
yes.
it was like a Transformers movie. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember.
Now it's the dark of the moon. Transformers: The Dark of the Moon.
Darker than moon. Yeah. But that all aside, I want to get back to your story because um, you started making videos, And what was your vision for these videos?
Well, that's a good question, Harold. Just because I found so many on my own that I wanted to publish them or get them published by like a bigger channel like Moneybags.
Right.
Uh, you know, they get busy with a lot of emails, I'm sure. You
Right.
know, I just saw none of them being published, so I decided I would do my own channel, my own thing, and try to help people out too. That's when I got the idea to do a Friday show and get people together. Get people talking about the effect.
Right. And did you think that by doing that, you would create enough hype that they would see these things and maybe publish them?
I
You-
I, I would think so. I mean, you
Well,
know,
I know you did a lot of videos, but I remember seeing you earlier in the time you were doing videos of other things. I mean, lately it's all been logo, but before that, like back a ways, you were doing other kinds of videos. You were looking at other things. You were looking at body changes. You were looking at continental changes. You were looking at you know uh, those kind of changes versus strictly logo changes. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I don't feel like I was strictly logo changes, but that's sort of been my niche, with the
Yeah.
Mandela community.
Right.
'Cause I used to do drafting, when I was in high school. I did drafting, and I took 2 years of college doing drafting and AutoCAD. So I
Right.
sort of had a framework already for you know logo design. So that's sort of how I came into it. Anyway, so I noticed some of the song changes. I stayed with my parents during 2015 and 2015 to 2017. I stayed with my parents after my divorce.
Right.
Um, I remember my mom had this specific ringtone. My mother had a ringtone, "Hey Soul Sister" by Train,
Right.
and that one was sort of reminiscent. Whenever I heard this song, it was "Hey Soul Sister." The lipstick stains on the front lobe of my left side brain or something, and now it's brains.
Yeah.
And there's all this talk about AI recently. AI is going to take over, eventually.
Yeah.
I know you and Candace often talk about the AI and
Right.
and where it's heading.
Yeah.
And it just led me to look up stuff about brains, and sure enough, one thing leads to another with the Mandela effect. I discovered another Mandela effect. This is your brain on drugs. You remember that
Right.
commercial?
I absolutely do.
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? And now it's this is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
Huh.
It's really bizarre.
A
Um,
lot a lot of things are getting changed and flipped like upside down almost.
yeah, and now I know I just covered this as a mirror video, but I got to give credit to Eva from Once Upon a Timeline. She's talking about these neck beards now. Have you ever heard of a neck beard?
Never.
Apparently, they were a style back in the day, but it just looks really odd. That's another thing to check into as a possible ME.
Okay.
Uh,
Neckbeards, huh?
the neck beards. You ought to
Well,
look into it.
when you first started these videos, okay, you were trying to get the word out, get to the bigger stations, bigger channels, possibly TV. I know. I remember you doing different things, but in your own heart, what did you envision for this? I mean, like, did you think that ultimately you would find a solution to this problem?
I thought if enough people, I thought if we wake up enough people, maybe, I mean, we would find probably the cause of it eventually. You know, kind of make an alert, like an alertness, kind of like how like if there's a neighborhood burglar, right? Say for instance, and you want to alert your neighbors that there's somebody coming possibly to rob your home, arm your doors.
Right.
So it's more of like a state of alertness, so that way you're more prepared for what's to come or what could be coming, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I understand completely. Um,
And I feel like there's this great divide among even among our community. You know, we have a great Mandela effect community.
yeah.
There are people that like to start trouble, and they're trolls, you know, in the community.
Yeah.
But for the most part, many people in the effect community are genuine, and you know, we're not out to make anything of ourselves. I'm doing this completely for everyone else, you know.
Right. Me too. Absolutely.
There's another cold call I'd like to share with you where I call Oscar Mayer. You want to hear this?
Yes. Go ahead.
It's actually Oscar Mayer is owned by Kraft Foods. They're basically their distributor.
Right.
I want to share this real quick. This lady's wide awake. I woke her up.
Myself, I have not been with them long. However, I do have access to all information.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Well, good. Maybe you can help me understand something because
Okay.
like I mentioned, I'm into reporting oddities, and
Okay.
I remember this song. Like, do you remember it? My hot dog has a name. It's OSCAR. My hot dog has a second name, MEYER. You remember that?
I remember that from when I was little, yeah.
But
I remember dancing in front of the TV.
well, the only weird thing is about this whole thing. So you remember it MEYER? Is that right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh! Look at the logo now. It's MAYER.
Yeah.
And yet it's always been like that. That's the strange thing about the Mandela effect is that there's these things that we remember. I'll give you another example real quick because I'm trying to wake people up. I'm a reporter, okay? There's another example with the cornucopia. Do you remember that? Like this horn of plenty coming out of the fruit of the loom? Like the fruit of the loom.
No, I don't.
You know, fruit of the loom underwear. You remember the cornucopia?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that cornucopia has never existed in this reality. If you look at all of the commercials in the 70s and 80s and everything, you'll never see a cornucopia on the fruit of the loom.
I'll have to look into that.
Well, another thing, a recent find was that, do you know Gatorade? Oh, the Gatorade one. Back in the day, it was, what was the slogan?
Yeah.
Was it? So that was pretty funny. She was a good sport.
Yeah.
I do cold calls quite frequently, but that one was like probably one of the most pleasant.
How did they justify the fruit without the cornucopia?
Exactly, because it's fruit of the loom.
Right.
Where's the loom?
It was where's the cornucopia? Where's the fruit? There's no fruit.
Yeah.
There's no cornucopia. It's just a loom now. You just got, I guess, underwear of the loom. So you made the videos. Obviously, you stayed at it. You kept doing it, and I know it was hard sometimes. I know that you bumped heads with other
Yeah, you're right.
people in the community.
Even my family members, my own family, my my ex, she won't let me talk about it with the kids.
Right.
It's just been hard, and the thing about it is like they can't, they can't use it against you in court. I found out, like, even if you bring up Mandela at all, they can't use it against you because there's so many people having these mismemories supposedly, so they can't. It's not like
they could turn around and say, "Well, you are,
you're nuts or crazy." No, they can't.
Yeah, you're a fruit of the loom.
No, but just seriously though, like I've studied a lot of the other effects too. Like I'm sure you've heard of Wendy having her braids.
Yeah, that was
Now
one I
Wendy
came
doesn't
across.
have braids anymore. They
Yes,
did
I know.
they did away with them.
Yeah, I wrote a post on that one.
Does anybody remember Morton Salt? The little girl having like blue black hair.
Yeah,
So now it's blonde.
really.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
Yeah, of course.
Uh, Sherman Williams. I used to watch the Weather Channel all the time.
Right.
And during the local on the eights,
Yeah.
they show Sherman Williams paints, you know, and now it's Sherwin.
Not Sherman.
No, not Sherman.
Yep. And it's always been that way, by the way. You know, that's the one thing that really just annoys me is something changed. You know that it wasn't like that just yesterday. And then people go, oh, it's always been that way. We kind of said, well, what happens if there was a 60-foot Jesus in the air? And we say to you, there's a 60-foot Jesus in the air. And you go, oh, it's always been there. Well,
Are you referring to that one, the statue in South America?
yeah, well, I wasn't referring to that one, but yeah, that too, but what I'm implying is that whatever the change is, they're just going to say automatically, oh, yeah, it's always been that way. Oh, nobody noticed the 60-foot Jesus in the air? I mean, and they would turn and look at you and go, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's always been there. And that's how it feels every single time we deal with the Mandela effect. Every single time. Because
Harold, you're married. How is your wife? Is she affected too?
yes. Yes, my daughter is affected. My daughter was the one who introduced me to the Mandela effect. And it was a joke to begin with. But you see, here's the problem. I have an analytical mind. So once you show me a problem, I can't stop until I solve it. I just can't. I'll go on for years. I just can't. And my daughter came in making a joke, going, that's Illuminati confirmed. And she would make a triangle. And I said, what are you even talking about? And then she goes, oh, I'm talking about this thing called the Mandela effect. And I said, oh, what's that? And then she told me something. And I said, okay. And she left. And I started delving in. And the further I got in, the further I wanted to go. So then I immersed myself at about 17 hours a day into YouTube for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I guess I wrote about, I don't know, 2,000 posts. And I was looking for any link between people having this effect and the effect itself. I was also looking for fingerprints as to what could be causing it, like trying to backtrack, these effects back to their origin. And what I found really quickly was that you can find reasons for it, but then when you get a hold of that reason, it just sort of vanishes like sand through your fingers.
I
There's
know. I
when you
know.
get the solution, then it becomes obvious. Well, that wasn't it.
Well, like that whole thing with like, if you build it, they will come. That
Yeah,
Mandela effect. I show that to people. Like, if you build it, he will come. And see, the first time I heard that, when I
yeah,
heard he, I was thinking the Antichrist, and like the hair on the back of my neck stood up.
me
But
too.
then, but then like, but then somebody told me that it was actually his father coming, and it meant that it could mean that God is coming soon. So that kind of calmed me down a little bit. But still,
Yeah.
it's just strange if you build, and that they're trying to build this temple in Jerusalem, and that would bring back the Antichrist, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. And so why would they do that? You know, if you know, if you know beyond a doubt that if you do this, this will happen. Why, oh, why would you ever do it? Yeah, I would,
All I gotta say is, at that point, I beam me up, Scotty. You know.
I think I would, send a permanent crew over there to just, you know, knock it down every time. No, 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 don't do it. Don't do
Danger,
it.
Will Robinson. Danger, danger, Will
Yeah,
Robinson.
right. I mean, you know that this is going to happen. Why would you do it? It doesn't make sense. It's counterproductive. It's not logical. It's let's use Occam's razor. The simplest thing is true. So why would you build this thing if you know that this happens? Then
Well, that's
don't do it
cause
with
and
reason.
effect. Cause and effect, and we talk about that too on our channel. Is like causality, retro causality, and I think Tom Hefner brought that one to my attention because a change in the future also affects the past.
Right.
And if
I
you watch Back to the Future enough times, you can kind of pick up on some things
that
as
were
to how that relates.
that movie. Yeah, they were in that movie as well.
Science fiction is actually basically we're on right now with the Mandela. I mean, we're on the brink of
So
basically on the brink of reality itself and science fiction. Science fiction, in other words, is becoming reality. It seems.
right, right. Well, I think that we're far ahead technologically than we think we are. We're quite a bit more ahead, and I think it's being hidden. And I think that things that we think are impossible have been possible for quite a long time. You know, for instance, time travel.
Yeah.
For instance, dimensional shifting, like shifting from one place here to across the country. Teleportation. Um, cloning. Uh, you know, all of these things I think are possible, and I
Well,
think that
speaking of the word possible,
yeah,
uh, Audrey Hepburn, famous
yes,
actress.
oh, absolutely,
She quoted, "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible."
right, exactly.
And that's not something I just looked up. It's just something I've had on my mind about the Mandela effect and science fiction itself.
Oh, I had one. You love me. You actually love me.
You like me. You really wait, what did she say? You like me? You really like me.
Yes, Sally Field.
Sally Field.
When it was actually Sally Fields, and she was the Flying Nun.
And
I remember because I watched it in the '60s.
isn't it strange that what is it? Her brother works for CERN.
Yeah, my brother works
That's
for CERN.
strange in itself. And we also see uh, her name Fields or Field kind of
Right.
coincides with Field of Dreams.
It also has another effect in Forrest Gump, in which Mama always says life was like a box of chocolates instead of life is like a box of chocolates. And that
Oh,
was actually a quote from Sally Field.
yeah. Then that's another thing I want to ask you about. If you saw that flip back in October of 2016, both with Flintstones, it went from Flintstones to Flintstones, back
Yeah,
to Flintstones, and so did Houston. We have a problem.
right. I
Houston,
remember
we have
that.
a problem, and back to Houston, we have a problem.
Right.
And it's not just mishearing or misnomers. You know what I mean?
So it changed. Um, and my whole view on that is that we're just shifting, and wherever we shift, when we shift from one reality to another, it could be one way in one reality, another way in another reality, and that's kind of the reason it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yes. It's my idea about this is that it's quantum leakage is what we're experiencing.
It could be,
There are literally two worlds that are 99% the same each.
yeah,
There's that 1% that keeps flipping back and forth and sometimes and that's how I feel. There's like a spillage, that 1%.
yeah. It could be one, maybe 1.2,
Yeah,
1.3.
I'm just guesstimating. I don't know exactly how much.
Yeah,
But there is a spillage, quantum leakage going on, and that's the reason I think for the Mandela effect changes. But you'll get to know like there are some people that you thought you knew before,
right.
and now you don't because of the Mandela effect. You are totally split minded now with them. You're you're not even on the same wavelength anymore with that person.
Right. It's like they never knew you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I noticed a real change. You know, when my ex, she started saying the Lord's Prayer. She would say, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." And
Right.
at the time, I just thought it was like a translation change or whatever in the Bible. But in fact, if you look, there's like virtually no translation that says, "Forgive us our trespasses."
Right.
So that's a major change for me. I've said it my whole life. The Lord's Prayer. I told you I'm very Christian.
Right.
I pray before every meal.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, and there's strange stuff going on with the kidneys as well. You know, with the body changes. And isn't it a Mandela effect with Harry Houdini? I thought he died in the tub because
Yeah. Upside
suffocated
down
or whatever.
because he had a herniated was it a kidney or something?
Well, his appendix actually
Appendix. That's
ruptured
what it was. Yeah. Appendix.
from a kid. I guess what it would be naturally in our world, it would be our reality. It would be called a kidney shot, kidney punch. There was
Yeah.
actually a punch to the. It would be a kidney punch, but it was a punch to the lower rib cage that caused his appendix to rupture.
Right. And he died in the water in upside down in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. Of course,
When do you remember Mandela dying? That's an important question because I remember him dying in 1986.
yeah, I sort of remember that too, and I kind of found some residue to that effect. Um, I I also found other things, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me about Nelson Mandela because they said he was a great leader or a great peace man of peace, and yet he led a bloody attacks on people, and his wife was putting tires over people and lighting them on fire.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and when he was in prison, and so I don't know how they could say that he was such a man of peace unless it was like a communist regime. You know what I mean?
It,
And, and I found some residue to say that he died in prison around 1988.
yeah, it was somewhere in that time frame because George Bush quoted it, Mandela's dead, and that was in 1991.
Yeah. So in 1988, there was a funeral, and I saw it. I had residue for it. I've lost it since. I don't know where it went.
Do you remember the famous statue they made of him in South Africa?
No, I don't.
Some kind
I
of
don't know
famous
what statue.
statue. And if you look on the right, his right ear has the white rabbit. You can see like a rabbit hanging
Really?
from his ear, a tiny rabbit.
Huh. I know he divorced his wife. I know that um, because of the things she did while he was in prison. I think ultimately, according to what the one timeline is, he tried to live a different life, but the other timeline is that he died in prison in 1988, and they had a funeral for him during that time, and I don't know how to reconcile those two things. I mean, it's impossible to reconcile the fact that he died there, and you stated that Bush said in 1991,
Yeah.
well, Mandela's dead.
Can I play that for everybody so they can hear it?
Sure, absolutely, go right ahead.
Hopefully they'll let me play it without copyright. You know how it is.
Yeah, just go quick. You know,
Wow, it's interesting how it won't let me play it.
yeah, okay, just skip it.
They can check it out. Wait, hold on. Here it is.
Brutal rule. Well, Mandela's dead
There it is.
because Saddam Hussein killed all the Mandelas.
There you go. There you go.
That was back in 1991.
All right. So how could that was he the president in 91? No, he
No,
wasn't.
I'm trying to recall. It was Bush was president in 1991.
Bush the first, not the second, not H. That was H.W. Bush, not.
That's right, Bush Senior. This is
Brutal terms
Bush
that
Junior.
divide.
I don't remember when this.
Is that George Bush?
George Bush Junior is actually doing
He wasn't president till till 2000, right?
No, not 2000. Let me look it up real quick. Bush.
President in 2001, obviously.
Okay, he served from 2001 to 2009.
Right.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
that had to have been George H.W. Bush.
Right. Herbert Walker.
Right. So
he must have got his facts mixed up from either wrong intelligence reports or
yeah,
something.
probably.
Or maybe he remembered it the same way we do, you know?
Or he was dead. Who knows? He knew something that everybody else didn't. You know, presidents do know a couple of things that you and me and the regular crowd don't. So, what I want to get out before we end this this interview is I would like you to tell everybody that's listening that has just found the Mandela effect that's today. Kind of summarize what you think they can do in order to um, calm themselves, join the community, or
Yeah, absolutely. You know, anytime you're feeling afraid or lonely, reach out to the rest of the community. We have Facebook groups out there. Teresa Lynch has a really great group that she's just put together recently. Reality Residue Hunter. I've got another group. Satan Bible Changes. Mandela Effect. It's on Facebook. You can just look it up. But yeah, join the community. You know, it really helps to talk it out. But also find strength with God. You know, because that's in the end. You know, that's what really matters is your faith in God. And no matter what happens, you know, whether it be with the changes or with people acting crazy, what does the gospel say? The gospel says, "Be quiet, be still." That's what Jesus told his disciples when they were out on the water. So again, I know I need to practice what I preach. Being calm and being still is what basically we need to do, and listen to God's word. You know.
right, right. And if you want, you can let everybody know the name of your channel so they can visit your channel.
Yeah, a lot of people get my name confused with because it's MC, MAC, whatever. My name is MacFarlane. Brian MacFarlane. Just look it up. You could find it.
Okay, and I appreciate you coming and sharing these things with us, Brian, because you know the Mandela Effect community. Uh, all of us need to reach out and help the ones that are now being affected, and help the ones that have been affected continue to deal with the day-to-day, changes in our lives. You know,
I know, because quite honestly, Harold, there were times I felt like giving up, just completely giving up. Especially when I lost my eyesight, I felt like part of myself was gone. You know, like there was a part of me that just I just felt like sort of like I had to regain my strength again somehow. But I had a second wind with this Mandela effect, seeing these changes. I mean, and it's almost like the gospel is coming, like it's coming true. You know, like in it's manifesting in our physical reality. We're seeing these changes as a way for me. for me, it's like a pathway, to sort of wake people up, and talk to them about God. That's how I see it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Everybody, if you liked this episode, give us a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the bell button so that you can be alerted when the new podcasts come. And of course, you can leave comments at the bottom. We're really grateful to have Ryan MacFarlane's Mandela story here with us. And thank you very much, Brian, for coming and sharing your story with us.
Yes, thank you, Harold, also for having me on. I appreciate it, brother.
Okay. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll be back with another story soon. Bye.